We're live. All right. Welcome, everyone. We're a bit early. Things were getting a little squirrely here. Internet went out, and then it changed. All kinds of stuff. So my apologies. We'll get going here. Got the chat up. Today, we're doing Q&A as normal. Didn't have time to plan a topic lately. Been too busy. And I'm just glad I wasn't picking my nose when this thing went live. Didn't even have time to fix the hair. Nothing. So we're good. But Q&A, what we're doing is first hour, anyone can ask a question. I'll answer as best I can. After that, we'll go to members only Q&A. Everyone still listen. You might be watching on the playback, but we're going to have some fun today, I hope. All right. I'm going to find the questions. Everyone said hello because it's kind of shocking to start. I was cursing Candy's name. I didn't even get something to drink yet, so hold on. I gotta cough and get something to drink. Get ready. All right. Finally home, making it to the live stream. Well, welcome. Any tips on keeping some goldfish cool? My garage tends to stay at 78 Fahrenheit. Man, I have a tickle in my throat today. There we go. I was eating guacamole dip with jalapeno in it right before I went live. When it comes to cooling the garage, what you can do, what I've done in the past, if you've got any windows, not all garages have windows, but if you do, get a fan in there, but hook it up to not a humidistat. You could do that as well. I've done that too, but a thermostat. And only have it kick on when the outside temp is lower than the garage temp. And I get one that'll control both. So it'll sense interior and exterior temperatures. And that way I can go, okay, cool my room down to 70, but don't cool it down to 50. I just want to cool it down some. And that's one way to do it. The other way I start with first is use a fan to blow across top of the water. That'll usually lower your water temp by about 10 degrees depending. You're also going to put a lot of humidity into the air, though, too. So if you're doing that, make sure you're taking control of the humidity also so you don't get a big moldy mess on your garage door. Ask me how I know. I've had the moldy garage door before. Not fun. Wife gets mad. Got to clean it up with bleach and anti-mold stuff. And then you end up buying dehumidifiers anyway, and you learn your lesson. So, welcome new members. We've got Brandon coming back. All right. Posywee coming back also. And Brian, 3 people re-upping. Oh, by the way, I renamed it the Nerms. We went from the team to the Nerms. I think we can all, if you watched last week, identify total Nerm. I wish you sold Pogostem stellatus or erectus. I found them on Amazon, but they're not cheap. So the problem with, most of the reason why we don't sell a plant is because it won't do well for you. Now, I can grow just about any plant underwater on the planet. But when it comes to shipping it to someone who might be a novice, we want to see them have success. So Pogostem and erectus, the problem with it, at farms, it's all grown out of water, and it's very bristle-like. So it's a real tough plant. And it doesn't look that close to... Well, let me see if I can fire up the website, or a website, which normally I have going, but since I started a little early, you know how that goes. Let me type in Pogo Erectus. So, let me see if I can get the website working. I gotta change my source real quick. I apologize. We're gonna go here. Normally, I get this done ahead of time. And we're going to go to right here. All right, now we're back. So, let me find some images. You're used to buying or seeing it with this nice wispy type look to it. If you're really making it happy, you get a little bit of purple to it. But, here's our competitor. Here you go. Buse plant, right? That form right there, you see how it's all like almost pine needly? That's immerse grown up out of water. That dies back and sheds horribly. Like, it's difficult for me to transition it And most people really struggle. And so instead of giving someone that experience, we would rather give them a better experience. And you can get it in tissue culture. And again, it's that weird form. And it's going to be really hard for an advanced user. Here's one. This is growing up out of water. This is underwater, right? So much finer leaves. We find it does not transfer well for people, and that's why we don't do it. And that's most plants. If we don't sell it, there's a reason why. Like we put out an article today on Hornwort. We don't sell it because it doesn't ship very well, and but we still want to provide people with care. This looks like an immersed grown picture out of someone's aquarium. So we're on Aquatic Plant Central. I think they are showing, this looks to be immersed. But, they've got this flowering. I've never flowered it before, but it looks like it's up out of water too. Most stem plants, the way they grow, people ask a lot of times, how tall do they go, Cory? As tall as you let them. So a lot of times, you might buy a plant that's this big. It can grow 20 feet tall, but it'll hit the top of your aquarium, start growing across the top. You'll trim it, you'll replant. And you can keep it small, you can keep it long, either way. And that's just how stem plants go in the wild. They'll usually grow to the top, and then they'll grow up out of the water and get that immersed grown form, because that's mostly what plants want to do. We take plants that don't want to always be under the water all the time, and we shove them underwater and go, grow how we want you to grow because you look cool. Where most plants don't want to do that. Very few, like a Vallisneria, that actually is a true aquatic. There's a few other true aquatics, but most are terrestrial plants or bog plants that will tolerate being underwater if we kind of baby them a little bit. And so yeah, that's why we don't. How many angels in a 20 high? At most, I would recommend one or a pair, and know that that's a much harder setup than a larger tank. It can be done. I've seen some breeders really crank out a lot of spawns in a 10-gallon. That being said, they have an entire fish room to raise all the fry, and they're watching it very closely and they know what they do. But that is a small aquarium for big angels long term. I don't have any experience with 3-spine sticklebacks. I've actually never kept a stickleback yet. It's on the hope to someday. They look kind of cool, but they also are just kind of brown and meh. So I haven't really gone out to really find them yet. Besides Livebearers and Africans, top fish picks for very hard water. So part of the problem is you just eliminated 2 of the biggest possible families of fish. That being said, there are plenty of things like rainbow fish. They would do well in hard water. There are, if you're saying Africans, I assume you mean African cichlids, but there's a lot of African tetras, like Congo tetras. There's puffers that can go, basically from Africa. That tolerate the hard water. There's lots of catfish. There's things like bichers. There's actually a lot of fish, but just because they tolerate the hard water doesn't mean they prefer it, and vice versa. You can take something like a cardinal tetra and get it where someone's bred it in crazy hard water, and it'll live there and do fine, but it doesn't necessarily always prefer that. You might only get live 4 years instead of 7, and most people won't see that difference anyway, because usually a disaster happens, an ammonia outbreak, power goes out, have to move, sold them off, change what you're doing. It's rare that people actually keep fish their entire lives, especially more towards their full life spectrum, because it's hard to do. Set up an environment and have nothing go wrong for 7 years straight. That's a feat to fight against. But that's what's fun for me, is going, how long can I keep it going? How safe could I do this? And what's my long-term plan, and how successful was I? How can you collect Odessa barb eggs? Typically, people are going to collect those in mops. You can make them out of yarn. You could use hornwort or other plants, mosses. You can go with a scatter method where you'd have lots of trays of marbles and such and let them spawn over top of it, take the adults out, let them hatch. Greg Sage at selectaquatics.com actually has some tutorials and videos and all that kind of stuff on how he does his. And I think he might have gone into it when I visited him and did a video too. So you can probably get tips there as well. If anyone wants Hornwort tips, I'm studying the plant right now for university. My growth experiment showed it could be 2.5 times growth in 21 days. You can get it growing faster than that too. I believe on the studies, it actually showed that Hornwort, I think, is the 3rd fastest, maybe 4th fastest growing plant. It's something like Douglas fir, corn, water hyacinth, and then I think Hornwort. I wonder if Google has this answer for me. Fastest growing plants, Hornwort. Let's see. These are all aquatic plants, but I believe it's even on, like, when you even include, you know, like the Douglas fir tree and everything. Hornwort is wicked fast up there. I want to find it though, because it was a cool read. This is now we're getting real down the nerm hole. We've gone too far. We're into Hornwort genome. We've gone too far. Yeah, I can't find the original article, or not even article, paper I was reading on it, but it's crazy fast grower. That's what I know. So it's one of the best. It's one of the best actually to remove nitrates and clean up your water, remove heavy metals and all that kind of stuff. The problem is the minute it starts starving, it's also one of the fastest to die, and it sheds those needles and really will pollute your aquarium. And that's one of the reasons why it doesn't ship well, by the way. Because it can grow so fast, you can imagine, okay, 4 or 5 days in a box, it could easily grow twice as big. It could also half die. So if you have a 1 foot piece, imagine in 7 days or 5 days, you could double it, right? Well, in that same amount of time, if you had a 1 foot piece, half it could die off, right? And if you go a little bit too long, so what happens is it gets packed up. Well, okay, let's do the full story. Like, what's the real story when it comes to plants, right? So I order plants, the plants come in, they hit my tanks, maybe they get to grow for 4 or 5 days if they're lucky, right? Then they get packed up for transit, so maybe they just got back to, like, not dying, but back to, okay, I'm starting to grow again. Then they get packed up for transit and shipped to you, and then when they land again, they're in that dying mode, and if they don't land in a good situation, decent CO2, decent fertilizers, other plants aren't out competing them, good light, if it doesn't land in that, it's going to finish dying off, and you're just going to get all those needles in your leaves, and we get a bad review. If you put it in a good situation, every day it's going to grow a few inches, and you're going, great, I love this plant. But we don't want to take that chance of half of everything we sell is going to be a train wreck for people. That's not good for us. It makes it look like we sell bad plants, when reality is it's a great plant when it's going. When it's not going well, it is one of the worst. It's like, ugh, I'll take duckweed over dying Hornwort any day. What's a nerm? A nerm is like so my definition of a nerm, because someone's asking what's a nerm, I think it's more like a closet nerd, where except you're like a closet normal person. So what I mean by that is, like, you've got a crazy fish room and you're sitting in an Aquarium Co-op live stream being incredibly nerdy, but then tomorrow you go out and you do normal people things, like, oh, I went out to dinner, or I'm a functioning person in society. And yeah, so you got to be a certain level of nerdy to be like, ooh, Monday night, 2 hours of fish talk, count me in. Yeah. I ended up getting ghost shrimp from Petco. Hold on. I ended up getting ghost shrimp from Petco that had horsehair worms. I couldn't find any information on the web on how to treat it. I've never heard of horsehair worms. Horsehair worms. Is that an actual thing? Yes. It's a thing. I've never... It's a parasitic worm. I'm reading about it right now. Come on. Too many... Huh. I'm going to show you because it's gross. Parasitic worm that turns crickets into suicidal maniacs, apparently. I suppose this is a thing. I've never seen it. And most ghost shrimp are wild caught. I just don't know if horsehair worms are aquatic. I would highly wager. Oh, hold on. It did say they like damp areas. All I can say is I have not encountered it. Wait, do they like brackish water? Most ghost shrimp actually come from brackish water. So that would preclude, if this thing doesn't tolerate brackish, it would be highly unlikely. Because ghost shrimp are collected in the wild. They just go scoop up a ton, and then they ship them to a Petco, PetSmart, or someone like me, and we sell them as freshwater because they're meant to be feeders. They're not meant to be long-lived. I'd have to do research, but no, I don't have any good good insight for you because I've never heard of it / never dealt with it. But I would start at the source of knowing they're brackish water. Shrimp, would this even tolerate salt? Because a lot of parasites won't tolerate salt. And then you could, the problem is there's probably 50 different things that look like that horsehair worm. And I'd be trying to get close to it before I go, how do I treat this thing? Because it's affecting grasshoppers and stuff. And I feel like, hold on right here. It says, horsehair worms can be discovered in damp areas such as watering troughs, swimming pools, streams, puddles, and cisterns. All right. The adult worms are free-living, but the larvae are parasitic, such as beetles, cockroaches, mantids. Oh, and crustaceans. There you go. All right. There's 351 freshwater species of horsehair worm. So not just 50 or more, 351 species of just horsehair worm. Oh wait, and a conservative estimate suggests that there may be about 2,000 freshwater species worldwide. Well, if that makes me not want to get back in the water ever again, I don't know what does. So yeah, I've never dealt with horsehair worm before. Maybe someone else got the cure for you. All right. Any recommendations with trimming Crinum calamastratum? Kind of. So I had the light off in here for a week or more. So that's why the water isn't nearly as green. But this leaf, that yellow one on this Crinum, is a casualty, right? Crinums kind of grow like an onion where each kind of leaf grows on the outside and you can just like peel it off at the base. If you just trim it, that leaf's going to die back. But if you peel it off like a layer of an onion, that's the best way to do that. Where if you need to cut one in the middle, just cut it, but towards the outside, you can peel it off. I tried the Kinder's buttery garlic herb from Costco, the same brand as Amazing Barbecue Sauce, and it's worth a try. All right, well, not only do you come here for the fish tips Q&A, but also the good Costco finds and other food-related things. When's the next $1 per gallon sale? I don't know. I would wager this, that with COVID going on, slowing down production on about everything, it could be far and few between until things are right back. Because it's hard just to move stuff around the country in trucks. It would be hard to source the initial glass. You might have trouble keeping your factory open to make the tanks, depending on what state and what the outbreak level is and that kind of stuff. So I could see us going for a $1 per gallon sale drought. I know that even my wholesalers are having a hard time getting tanks and tops and that kind of stuff. So that's a good question. We could be in a drought. Could be tomorrow, though. They could have the world's biggest stockpile. I don't know. I don't control that company. But yeah, I hadn't thought about that part. I'm always thinking what are we running into problems to? But I hadn't thought about how many things are in the chain to make a tank, really. Ooh, let's see here. We've got Lillian, I assume. Lillian and Juan, biologists from Puerto Rico. We love your channel and have learned so much from Dean and you. We are recently starting our fish breeding business. Any suggestions? There definitely are people buying in Puerto Rico. We've shipped to them in the past and that kind of stuff. With anything, you know, identifying demand and then producing to that demand and helping promote the hobby, that's important, you know. And so, like, if I was just trying to make money, you would think, well, just make a product and sell it to people that want to buy it. But the best way to make money in the same business is to do that, but also embrace the hobby, make the hobby more fun. That's where you see, like, I'm trying to think of companies that really invest in that. Like, the best one I can think of off the top of my head is Monster Energy drinks. They put an insane amount of money into like motocross events, skateboarding events, all of that, because without that happening, the scene in which monsters are consumed, the drink, doesn't really make sense. And so same thing for you. You're going to be in that kind of more of a captive market in Puerto Rico. You need to make sure that there's a local club that's thriving, make sure that the stores are doing okay, and then you get to make all the money selling and breeding the fish. So my tip would be, yes, are you going to have to be a master in breeding fish? For sure. On top of that, start bucking up on learning how to market and supporting those other facets so that they stay in business. Because if everyone's out of business that sells fish and only you're left, you're not going to have a whole lot of time for breeding fish, and you're going to end up retailing fish, which allows it so that, or makes it so that you won't have fish to supply anymore. So you need, you'll find in business you end up relying on other people to do parts of the job so that you can focus and specialize in one part. So for instance, Dean focuses on breeding fish. He does that all day long. That's what he does. I focus on selling the fish, right? I do breed some fish. Dean does sell some fish, but we each focus on a thing. I focus on selling. He focuses on making it. And he's done both in the past. I've done both in the past. And we find it's much more efficient to be able to focus on one of the aspects, because then you're not burning the candle at both ends, and it's sustainable. And you can actually have a life sometimes. Can I feed my tiger barbs cucumbers? Probably. I find cucumbers to be kind of a slobbery mess after they've been in an aquarium for a while. I much prefer zucchini. I don't know if they're going to chow it down unless they're really hungry, but someone in your aquarium probably will. I'm totally a nerm too. Teacher by day, fish nerd at night. Yep. That's, yeah. I don't have a lot in common when I talk to normal people because I only do fish. And then when you bring up fish, they always go, saltwater, huh? And I'm like, yeah, kinda, not really, you know, so, yeah. Love nerite snails, hate the eggs. No truer words have ever been said, David. If nerite snails didn't have those eggs, they'd be the perfect snail for sure. I got Honduran red points breeding. Do you know if they take care of their young? They're pretty good at it. If you've ever raised convicts, they're very similar to raising those fry as well. But when their new batch comes out, maybe, you know, when they breed again and the female's watching it, any fry that go over there are probably going to get assassinated. And then if you don't have a big enough tank and they can't escape, they'll all get assassinated. So if you do them in a big, like, 100-gallon tank, you'll get 3-4 spawns cohabitating, and it's pretty fun. But it does turn into a death tornado as all of them start growing up and fighting for breeding space. So you got to have a good outlet for them. And unfortunately, they breed like rabbits, so feeding them to turtles, and there's only so many your pet store is going to be able to sell. Can Mollies go in a 10-gallon? If so, how many? You can fit, in my opinion, you could do balloon Mollies. Maybe as many are going to breed. I'd start with like 4 to 6 of them, more females than males, and breed them and then sell them back to a pet store, find out what you're going to do with them because they're always going to breed. But your average Molly does get pretty chunky if you're doing it right. I've seen some people raise them up in 10s, but usually they end up upgrading their tank size. Ooh, I'm going to learn a business term here, or learn something. Aquarium Co-op, you selling a Dean breeding is called comparative advantage. Just got done with an econ class. See, I never took them book smart classes. I focused on technology, network administration, but I fully believe that, and I study business all the time, just not in book form like that. Like I try to get the real life, you know, I tried that didn't work. Okay, and then I'll read about it and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I've been doing that for a long time. Yeah, of course you do that. Yeah, that's a great idea. And then, you know, every once in a while too, I learn, oh, okay, that's a good thing. But in general, the jargon terms, I'm just like, well, without experiencing it, it doesn't make sense in my brain. You just read a term like, I get it, but I don't get it. Welcome back, DM, to the nerms. What a nerm. Will you ever come to South Africa? We have amazing guppy farms here. I hope to. I really want to go to Africa. There's amazing fish in Africa, just like natives. Then there are farms, apparently. And then there's like ultimate cool wildlife. So there's about 1 million reasons for me to go to Africa on a personal level, on a business level. I haven't made it there yet. I want to, though. Yeah. And there's been a couple people that reached out and say, hey, I've got like a vacation spot. I don't know what they call that. Whatever. But they're willing to like kind of help host and do all that kind of stuff. But, you know, everything came to a screeching halt this year. So don't know where I'm at next year. Or the year after, for that matter. Are swordtail males more aggressive than guppy males? In my experience, definitely I find swordtails to be a little bit ornery. They're not my least favorite Livebearer, but of the common Livebearers, so swordtails, platies, mollies, guppies, endlers. So those all yeah, if I said mollies in there. Out of all those, swordtails are the most ornery that I've found. Anacris care. Anacris, the tips I have there, one, no, it's illegal in a lot of states. We can't legally keep it. We can keep certain types of Elodea, which is very similar. It's a fast-growing plant, very invasive, so be careful with it. Most of the tips for a fast-growing plant like that are feed it really well. It'll grow super fast. If the minute it runs out of food, it'll start dying really fast. So that's, you know, when people go, I want my plants to grow really fast, like just know, when they're done growing really fast, like if you take a week off from fertilizing, they're going to die really fast too. So that's where I would be trying to keep my water parameters more towards the 40 parts per million. Keep a lot of fertilizer going on in there. They'll never run out. They'll constantly produce. You'll be taking out, like guppy grass is a fast grower. I take it out by the buckets full every week. But it's cleaning my water for me. So I prefer that. Purchased Ammonia gracilis from you guys. Your site stated to dose iron regularly. Is it every day? Well, that would depend. So think of it like shopping. You could go shopping every day and buy what you're going to eat that day, and a lot of countries do that. They shop for the day or a couple of days at a time, and they like to keep everything super fresh. But maybe like my wife, she might shop once a week, right? And so we might dose fertilizer once a week, whereas at the warehouse, we do dose fertilizer every single day because we have auto dosers running. But you probably don't have that, and the goal is to not run out. So whether you're buying iron every day or you're buying it once a week, just make sure if you're doing it once a week, you buy enough or you put enough in that aquarium so it doesn't run out. And that's kind of the regularly part of it. It's probably maybe not the best way to explain it because it ends up being a long thing, but really should state, like, make sure it never runs out of iron, but also don't put so much iron in there you're growing tons of hair algae. So regularly dosing. And the regular part of it, some people, they're very good when they get a new plant. I'm going to dose my iron. I'm going to do this. It looks great. And then after a while, they're like, ooh, look at that. It's a remote control car. I don't like aquariums as much anymore. And they forget, and then their plant starts dying off. So, you know, keep up on it regularly, regular maintenance, regular dosing, all of that. When you keep something to a pattern, you get much better growth out of it instead of kind of a yo-yo, like had enough, didn't have enough, had enough, didn't have enough. Does soil substrate like fluval stratum need to be rinsed before putting in the tank? Ideally, it goes into the tank before you fill it with water. Otherwise, it's just really hard to deal with. It's kind of like saying, should I rinse the dirt before I put it in? It's like, but you'll rinse away all the dirt. Like, yeah, a lot. Yeah, it definitely, usually you just want to start with it to base, then fill it up with water. So, you know, if you had to, like you're really changing it, I would fill up a container, lower into the water very slowly, and dump it at the bottom very slowly for minimum disruption of the sediment that's going to be all around it. Jared Peters, welcome and becoming a nerm. And Zach, welcome back. He's at the shrimp level nerm. Is petrified wood for freshwater tanks with shrimp? I know a lot of people have used petrified wood. I've never heard of any problems. That being said, I myself haven't done that test, but it seems like it should be inert. So I'd give it a try. I've got 2 longfin albino bristlenose. One in the smaller 20 gallon with less food grew faster. Why would this happen? How do I bulk up the one in the 80 gallon? So a lot of times it comes to competing with other fish. So without having just one fish here and one fish here and feeding specific, you get into things where they're competing with other fish just because we keep multiple. And every tank runs differently. So I can't explain exactly why. There's always a little bit of genetics sometimes, but more than likely what's happening is more fish sharing the food, even though it's getting more food in the larger tank, and the smaller tank is less, but it gets more of the share. Or there could be something like you've got wood in one and not in the other. Well, wood, they eat wood all the time. The wood rots, they eat it, that's more food. There's a lot of food sources that we're not always in tune with. You know, some people don't know they have a lot of microfauna going on. They wouldn't know the rotten wood's food. You got algae, you got the food that you're putting in. Even a smaller tank is going to potentially have more light than a larger tank. And so you can, even though you're going, well, I don't see algae growing on either, one probably grows at 3 times the rate the other one does, but the pleco eats it as it's growing always. That would be how I would explain it without doing some real testing where you're setting up real examples and you can control all the variables, which even then, it's at best, it's a hobbyist level controlled test. But yeah, that's probably what's going on. Normal nerd. Yes, a nerd masquerade as a normie. Would I recommend using, would you recommend using play sand in an aquarium setting? You can. I'm not a huge fan of sand in general. I like a coarse sand if I'm going to do it. A lot of cleaning. You can get it fairly cheap though. That's the good news. Other than that, a pool filter sand is a heavier coarseness. I would go with something else, honestly, though. If I had my choices, that's really what it comes down to. You know, I've been in the hobby a decent time now, and I've tried a lot of things. And usually you're always getting, like, no matter what, time and energy is being put in. You could spend a lot of money, and hopefully you don't have to put a lot of time or energy into it. You could spend very little money, and then you're doing a lot of, cleaning and manual labor, and, you're going to get favorites. I honestly really love crushed coral because I have soft water, and I love normal aquarium gravel. Just like that nice tan brown color, it always just performs really well for me. Sands, depending on the fish, amazing. On other fish, terrible. Sometimes it's ruining my canisters because that fish is picking it up all the time. There's pluses and minuses, but I really find chunkier, like normal size gravel for most things, plants, everything included, really does well. And I think we're led astray with, that's what everyone does. I want better, or I want different. And it's like, yeah, but if everyone's eating tacos, maybe tacos are just good instead of, I'm going to eat something else. Like, well, maybe they're just good. And I think normal aquarium gravel is really good. There's a reason why it became so popular, and that's because it works really well. It's easy to gravel vac. It holds plants down well, just fine. If it grows plants really well, it's inert, right? And you can get it in different colors. You can get it in different sizes. You can get it in different polishes. Do you want it to be shiny, not shiny, rounded, not rounded? You've got a lot of options. All right. Care for ghost shrimp. Yeah, care for ghost shrimp. Mine won't make eggs. Need to breed them. Don't want to keep buying them from the pet store because they have such a short lifespan. Also, bacteria starter. Well, if you were listening from the beginning, most ghost shrimp you're going to buy are going to be a brackish water shrimp, so you need to breed them in brackish water. Or if you're trying to make feeders, just get cherry shrimp. It's way easier. That being said, do anything else on the planet except raising your own feeders. Go deliver pizza one night a week. You can buy all the feeders you could ever want ever, and it would be far more efficient with your time than trying to breed those shrimp to use as feeders, right? So, mow your neighbor's lawn every 2 weeks, take that $20 to $40 or whatever it's going to be, and buy your feeders, and that will net you out more feeders, unless you're going to go crazy scale with it where you're like, oh, you see that? It's an 80,000 gallon pond in my backyard, and I live in a tropical temperature, and I put the salt in, and now I can make them. There's a reason no one farms ghost shrimp, and they all go collect them, because it's not worth it. Good bacteria starter. A lot of them are fairly similar. The ones that I like, because I was able to see with my own 2 eyeballs, is the Fritz line of bacteria, because I see their process. I saw what they were doing. I saw how they made it, how they cultivate it, how they do all of that, and it really made sense to me. You can go with Turbo Start. You can use the Fritzzyme, which is a lesser concentration that's cheaper. Either one of those were good aids in bacteria. Taco question, am I a flour or a corn tortilla man? Depends on what did I eat last. Most times, well, am I this savage right now? I was eating guacamole earlier, as I do. I've got white corn here, I assume, and then I've got yellow corn right here. You got to mix it up. But yeah, I'll eat them all the same. But flour ones cook differently than crunchy corn ones. Dean has made some really good flour tortilla chips before, by the way. So is my wife. But I'm not a hater. I'll eat them both as long as they're crunchy. What's best for the coloration on my guppy? A nice, well-rounded diet, which sounds like a cop-out, but make sure they're getting vegetables and proteins and color enhancers. Some of the foods will do all of that, or a lot of it, where you're like a spirulina will get your veggie. You're also going to get color enhancers in there, and you're going to get your protein. But if you only feed that, it's not nearly as good as that, with something that's going to enhance some different colors with different types of proteins with different amino acids. So, get yourself feeding 2, 3, 4 different types of food every week. Make them high quality, and that's pretty much going to give you what you want. If you're really skewing towards a color, like you really want them to be more red, feed more krill and those types of foods. But in general, a nice well-rounded diet is going to give you, about optimal. Are mosquito fish and wild guppies the same? No, they're different. In fact, if you keep mosquito fish, you'll find they're a lot more aggressive than guppies are. And yeah, they're Gambusia, and there's lots of type of Gambusia. Most of them are legal in Washington, but yeah, and I guess we could take it to the internet. Gambusia. So the mosquito fish is Gambusia, and things like Gambusia finis, I think, is the most common. And when you're going to collect, like in Florida, you can get some really nice spotted ones. Let me see if I find any pictures. Those might be Halbrooki, something like that. Oh, Holbrooki. Yeah, they've got some that are almost like a Dalmatian. Yeah, here's some right here. Gambusia, Holbrooki. You see how that Dalmatian color? They're really cool fish in their own ecosystem, but you'll keep them and you'll be like, dang, those things are kind of vicious. Look at these ones. These ones, a lot more coloration. That Dalmatian, real cool. But their temperament is not something I enjoy, because they're a little brutal. Whereas your average wild guppy, when you start looking at them, they've got the more colors, and they're set up a little differently in terms of body structure. Females might look a little similar to untrained eye if we look at this female here. But when you come back and you look at these, You know, you can see they're more of like a top minnow type of body structure. They're just a little bit more aggressive. But I think there's 16. How many? Gambusia species? How many are there? 40. There's 40 Gambusia species. I was gonna say 16 for some reason, but I would have been wrong. But they're really fun to collect. If you ever get a chance to go to a fish convention in Florida, you'll catch them by the boatload. You'll be trying to catch anything but them. Real cool fish in their own little ecosystem. The minute you mix them with other stuff, you're going, man, they're just beating up on everything. They're so ruthless, but they're cool looking. And, you know, I always maintain if I was to keep any fish in an aquarium, I'd still consider myself lucky. So if all I could ever keep was Gambusia, I'd still be thrilled because you still get to watch the behavior. You see babies, they be doing all their cool stuff. And that's what I like about aquariums. So it's a good time. If I lived in Florida or nearby, I would keep some probably if it was legal to. Would I ever consider lining a shrimp tank bottom with moss as a carpet? Moss on top of the substrate. Yeah, you could. You could use moss mats, or what's really popular, what everyone likes the look of, but is actually kind of hard to maintain and pull off, would be a moss ball carpet. If you spell it right. See if I can find some good images of it, so you guys can go, ooh, yeah, that is cool. Who's done it right? Here's Escape that uses basically nothing but the moss balls mixed in with the rock. But there are some carpets that turn out really good. Of course, I don't see a single one while I'm being live on the internet. That's always super annoying when you're trying to show something. But what you do is you cut them apart and you lay them flat. Long term, they grow. Like here's someone trying to do it a little bit. This isn't the best, you know, like one little rock in a tiny container is not the best representation of how good it could look done by a professional. Of course, there would never be a picture on the internet that would want to show what I'm trying to show. That'd be too easy. But yes, you could totally do that. It looks good when it's done right, but you can grow a lot of algae, not even the type you want. You go, oh man, I got hair algae growing on it now. Now this is going on. Yeah, dang it. But it can be done. Shrimp love it. It's cool. Definitely a recommended thing. Question from the curious chef. Last day on Earth. What's my last meal? Probably something my wife makes. Probably like lately, I would say it's these grilled cheese sandwiches she's been making. They're amazing. But I typically always want things from home when I'm traveling, when I'm doing all that. And food for me tastes good. I'm lucky that, you know, my wife's a good cook. Most people in my family good cook. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I'd probably just want something that she would make. I don't know what it is. Like that's the eternal struggle. What do you want for dinner tonight? I don't know. Just make something. It's all good. Like I think, what did I say tonight? What was my idea? Let me see if I came up with. Oh, we're having chicken, like a chicken pot pie casserole. That's what we're having tonight. It'll be delicious, I'm sure. Do you think Corydoras can survive in a 100-gallon tank with black piranha? Just one of them. The tank would be planted with a lot of structure. Is the black piranha the black rom? Let me see. Black. Now you can see that I can never spell piranha correctly. Is it the rom? Who's gonna tell me? Wikipedia? No, that's the red eye. No, it must not be the rom. I've never been able to keep piranhas because they're illegal in my state. The problem is they'll nip on each other. They'll probably nip on the Corydoras a little bit. If you keep them well fed in your aquarium, I think you could pull it off. Especially if you had like rock cover and stuff, or places where corridors could escape to if they needed to. But I do think they might go hunting when you don't have, like, you're like, oh, I'm on vacation or whatever, and you have someone kind of feeding not quite enough. That's what I would, and this is based on guesstimation of experience, not on, well, back when I kept piranhas and corridors together, it worked great. I've never done it, so. When will your nano sponge filters be back in stock? We're hoping to have all of that stuff back in stock this week. In fact, I did get a message from Randy. Let's see. Let me see it here. Oh, nope. I don't have a update, but it should be, it's in port. So what does that mean? That means it's like, it's sitting at a, I don't know, a facility with cargo containers. And we're just waiting for customs to like, yep, it got off the boat. Then we have a broker that fills out some more paperwork. Then they schedule a truck to deliver it to us. And so that could be as soon as, well, it's already 3:42. So not today, but it could be as soon as tomorrow. Could be as late as never. We were really hoping it would be arriving at our warehouse today. No such luck. We're really hoping tomorrow. Because, yeah, we honestly have sold so many more sponge filters than we ever thought. And so we thought we bought just an enormous amount, but it clearly wasn't enough. And then with COVID delays and things happened, it really jumbled up our forecasting software. And by us making that video and doing a few other things, it's like, oh, geez, we're selling a ton. And we ran out of 2 sizes. So any day now, tomorrow, next day, sooner the better. That's what we know. All right. How come there seem to be gravid spots on some male swords? I'm confused. Yeah, actually, I can see if there's any good pictures. Let's see here. So I can tell you about the lore, if you will. So back in the day, we used to think that swordtails had the ability to turn from a female to a male. And it goes something like this, says, in the absence of a male fish, a dominant female swordtail and other livebearers will often change sex and become a fully functional male to keep the species alive. Now, the studies and stuff that I read since then, this was in 2009, say that usually it's just hormones in the water and dominant males making it easier for other males to just keep looking female, so they don't develop their sword. Now, let's see if we get some images here. So what you see happening is you'll remove or sell the dominant males, and you'll get more that pop up as a male. And it's just because no one's there going, hey, life's easier if you don't look like a male. I don't have to boss you around. And so usually that's why swordtails cost so much, is because you don't get that many males sexing out. There's no good real pictures here that are showing it, but you can find, a lot of times you'll find a swordtail that it's like, that has a little baby sword, even though it looks female. I'm trying to find a good example of that for you. I'm not seeing any pictures right now, but they'll have the female big kind of triangle anal fin, but then also be getting a sword on their tail. And usually if you were to take that and put it in isolation, it will become a male. Or not, it doesn't become a male. It finishes looking like a male. And in fact, when you're raising fish for breeding, a lot of times the breeders want to use the male that grows its sword and everything last. It will be the biggest fish and the best breeder genes. So the one that sexes out early, so the one that becomes a male and shows itself early, spends so much time like chasing the females and keeping all the other males subdominant that it doesn't eat enough and it expends a lot of energy. And so you get a fish that's kind of smaller, where the one that's the last one, it tricked everyone. I'm just a female. I'm huge. I'm fat. I've been getting tons of food. And now all the other males have left. It grows its sword, and you have this jumbo swordtail that's monstrous, really good genes to breed from that. So that's a lot of times why you'll see that happening. Welcome, Gene Moreland, to the NERMs. Is a 350-liter coffee table aquarium suitable for Oscars? 350 liters? That's going to be about, what, like 75 gallons or so? It could be done. My thought would be, being a coffee table is going to be low to the ground. It's going to be a pain in the butt to gravel vac. So you might want to get yourself some Duraparis to live with them, and know you're going to do a lot of water changes and clean a lot of filtration, because siphoning won't be the easiest, I would think. That would be what I'd be thinking. Like, how am I going to get the maintenance on a fish that's kind of a messy eater? Because Oscars eat by, their teeth are in their throat, so they're kind of like puking up their food all the time in their throat, and that's what chews it down. That's why you get a lot of stuff coming out their gills from that type of thing. So feed very small foods like smaller pellets, and you won't have as much of that debris going into the water. Welcome, Jay Shields. Welcome back to the NERMs. By the way, if you're looking for a good almond, these are amazing. These blue diamond garlic herb and olive oil almonds are awesome. They smell so good. Are there any Livebearers that can handle softer acidic water, or are they all hard water fish? There are some, like Endlers are a softer water Livebearer. Trying to think if I know of any others that do well in that. I'm gonna have some of these almonds because they're so good. I can't think of many Livebearers. In general, those are the ones I can think of that do really well. You might be able to get away with like a Merry Widow's Livebearer, maybe a Teddy's Livebearer. I've got Neon Tetras, Galaxy Rasboras, Glow Light Rasboras, and Candy Koi Fighter, which is a betta, in a 40-gallon. Could I get some German Blue Rams or cribs? You could do cribs. The German Blue Rams are going to want higher temperatures, and I feel like that'll put some stress. So if I was going to try, I would try a pair of cribs. Especially since I have a video on breeding them coming out soon. How long will the stream last? We will be going for another hour and 11 minutes, or until these delicious almonds run out. I'm having trouble finding questions. I'm stocking a 20 by 10 inch 15-gallon, okay, with Corridors Habrosis or Julie Cories, and I'm wondering how many should I get to max the happiness to space ratio. So you get one of the two, okay. With Habrosis, I would do a school of like 6 or 8 and get them to breed. That's super fun. Wait, Julio's Cory. What is that? I want to make sure. I was assuming it was, yeah, Julii is what comes up even with Google autocorrect. So I assume it's Julii. I would do like a max of 6 of those. They get a little bigger. Hey Cory, my local fish store Bad Fish in SOFL, South Florida. Is that what that means? Use your sponge filters in their store tanks. My favorite local fish store. What's your tank on using sponges in a 20 long divider? Hold on. I think you mean what's your take on using sponges as a 20 long tank divider and to breed cherry and blue shrimp? Okay. I don't like mixing things that are easily crossbreedable in the same physical tank, regardless of divider. One thing can jump across, one can find a nook or a cranny. It's too easy to like, oh, I was catching some out, and then one hopped off the net into the other one. So I'm never a fan of that. Can you separate 2 species? Yes, but I would separate like one side's got, you know, piranhas, and then we've got shrimp over here. So if a shrimp ever gets over, it just gets eaten, right? Vice versa, that's not good either, but not something that's going to crossbreed, and then you're not going to notice till you've already sold a few hundred of them going, oh my gosh, I think I crossed these. Advice on keeping dwarf gouramis. I like the powder blue ones. I like all the sunset gouramis, the tuna. I guess I could bring out the website. So, basically like these tuna gouramis. C-H-U-N-A? U-N-A? Who says N-A? N-A. These guys, super chill, which is nice. You can get the sunset. Let me see if they'll show me sunset. Like this is kind of the natural color here. You can get the sunset. You get like this oranger color right here. You can get the yellows or the honey gouramis. The powder blues I like quite a bit. I only like the females though. So you've got these males that have all this color, right? Something like this. They're going to be pretty aggressive and ornery. Where the females, they just look like this. And so you get this nice powder blue female that is not nearly as aggressive. And so that's what we sell at the store. We actually don't sell the males. So my advice is get some of the more docile species so you don't have a rage cage going on. Because these little fish, typically people put them in like 20s and 30-gallon tanks. And that's okay. And they think they're docile when they look at them in the store because there's 50 of them in there and they can't beat up on each other. But when you get one or two and they start taking territories in your tank, that's where you run into the problems. And so unless you're going to do, which I do think is a very cool tank and people should do this, like a 100-gallon gourami tank with all different types of gouramis, I think it would actually look pretty cool and be pretty fun. Most people aren't going to do that. And so that's what I would fear that you're going to run into those like, that's not as fun as I was hoping moments. I've got Jungle Val and Amazon Sword to start with. What other plants should I pick? Those are both root feeders. So if you're going to stay with the root feeder theme, like lots of root tabs and stuff, go ahead and get yourself some crypts. That's everything that's going on over here. These are all crypts. They're really easy to grow, low light. They just take a little bit to establish themselves, but otherwise not so bad at all and easy to populate. Where can I get some good Endler's Livebearers online? I just want some hardy fish. Mutts are fine. AquaBid would be a good place. You know, there'll be lots of choices. If you go to AquaBid, all you got to do is scroll down to Livebearers, which right here, go to Wild Type. And a lot of these, let's see, let's find some Endlers. Like if you wanted this color, right? You could order these up. Most Endlers are going to be fairly hardy. What is it? Adrian HL? What is there's a guy that Adrian HD, that's what it is. He works a lot with lots of different maybe it's right here. Is this him? I think they're just selling some of his. These are some of the more designer ones that maybe you don't want because that's $107, $85, $85. That'd be a little bit rich for my blood unless I really loved him. I think this is him, Swamp River Aquatics, actually. Is that Adrian HD? I think it is. So he's got a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of strains that are actually like have some lineage to them, and I think he sells them. Right? Maybe not. Maybe he sells them on AquaBid, but you can see a lot of the different strains, and he really focuses on Endlers. And so not a lot of people focus on Endlers, and so you can see a lot of different variants that are made by people, by the hobby, some that are just been collected, and you know, I think this helped spawn like the Pinga Guppies. If you guys ever seen the Pinga Guppies, where they really started mixing Endlers and Guppies. Pinga Guppy, or maybe Pingu Guppy. Yeah, Pingu. Oh, geez, come on, Pingu Guppy. So they started mixing. These aren't even good examples. Why can I not find what? Ginga rubra, I think. Ginga. They're gonna be in here. I know it. I'll find some and show you what I'm talking about. Because now I just look like I'm insane. There's nothing worse, and you're like, you act like you know what you're talking about, and then pretty soon it's not showing up on Google, and you just look crazy. Of course, no one's got these right now. They might be under Guppy, so. All right, give me a second. I just want to make sure nothing crazy shows up on search while I'm looking for these and be like, oh my god. Yeah, okay, it's right here, Gingaruba. All right, now I'm going back. I was just afraid. You start typing words where you're like, what is it called? So these are Gingaruba guppies. This is where they really started messing with, let's mix guppies with endlers and some of these crazy colors we can get and start getting some of these pinks and other morphs to come out. So that was kind of a fun thing that I would say, when was that? When was that hot, if you will? It was right before I opened my store, so that's probably like 2010 or so, I would think, is when like that was all the rage for a little bit, was these. It was kind of like, oh, you like guppies that look ridiculously cool with big tails and all that? Well, us hipsters, we like them with no tails, hardly any color. You're not cool unless you're keeping the ones that are uncool. And then they did get some that look pretty darn cool, and that's kind of where we got a lot of these endlers now that are pretty awesome, where it's like, oh, look at the orange line, look at the solid green, look at the you know, the tigers and that kind of stuff. Some cool stuff did evolve out of it. I think tigers were actually before this whole phenomenon, but it definitely did, you know, a lot of genetics, a lot of new stuff was made, which was cool. A lot of times it's just guppies. Then we mix some new genetics in. But a lot of it was like, oh, here's a Pokemon dwarf guppy. A lot of it was just like, if it spits out some random color that doesn't have a name yet, we could charge a lot of money for that. And the reality is, after a while, some pretty cool ones did come out of it. And, you know, but it was cool for a while just to have these different looking guppies. You know, the tail's not formed out correctly. The color pattern's cool. But, you know, there was a lot to... If that picture ever clears up, maybe it won't. But before that, too, you know, I was really into, like, the see-through guppies. The see-through guppies are fun if you want to teach a science class, or glass belly guppies also. Because you could watch them eat and see how long it takes them to go to the bathroom. Let's see here. Like this strain we had. And you could see the eggs form, and then you would see the eyes. You could see the eyes, so you could actually see how long it was taking to fish. And so if you really want to learn about Livebearers, this is a great one because you could, you know, learn about gestation periods, see how long they keep the food in them, all of that kind of stuff. And so it made you a better aquarist. They didn't even look that cool, though. When you, like, this is the male. It's kind of like, not the coolest. Yeah, these are about as cool as it got. And in terms of guppies, that's not that cool. That being said, I sold a bunch. Ooh, maybe I could do... It's 4 o'clock and I'm supposed to go to members only. Let me see if I can pull up my old feedback. I want to see if it'll let me... I gotta type in my password and stuff. If it'll let me show you guys fish that I sold back in the day. Let's see, does that log me in? No, that did not log me in. It's an incorrect password. I haven't logged in so long. Oh, it's because I'm not in... Let's see if I can do this. I have to import my passwords. Give me a second. Meanwhile, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to members only to ask the questions. How can I verify the sexes on Kribensis? Let me show you. Let me show you. And I'm going to change it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Hey, how'd my camera move? This like... has that been there all day? Sorry if it has. I think my camera tilted down. Did it tilt down? I feel like it tilted down. All right. Kribensis. So Kribensis, when it comes to sexing them, you're going to want to look for the purple on the belly is going to be real apparent. So like this purple right here, that's really a telltale sign of a female, right? Let's see where, and the females typically have better color, where the male, more drab, right? So if this is the male, You can see like the male's anal fin comes to a real fine point. Typically, it's a little more broad. You see how it's a little bit more broad on that anal fin? And then also on the dorsal fin up here. Oh, you guys can't even see that 100% because of the way this window is set up. Let me see if I can find a better picture to display that for you. Well, here's a male. Both of these come to a point really well. Even though it's got that pink, this is a different strain of it. The females, let me find a good picture that will show correctly for you. Well, here's male and female. Well, that could be 2 males actually, depending. I need good pictures if I'm gonna do this. Teaching on the fly is hard when you're relying on other people's pictures. So again, female right here, rounded anal fin, right? It's more rounded as opposed to this male albino. Come on, get clearer. It's not gonna get super clear, but you see how that long point right there, that'll help you. But if that gets nipped, that's not a good way. So you use the color in the belly plus their dorsal and anal fin. That's a good way to do that. If they're super young, you could run into some problems, but usually it gets pretty easy. And I've got a whole video coming out. It'll be real apparent what's the male and the female there. All right, let me swap it over so people can start asking their members only questions, and we'll look at Cory's feedback, which we're gonna do a whole podcast about because Randy really wants to go over it. So let's see right here, member only chat messages. There you go, members only. And let me log back into AquaBid and see if this is gonna work. Anything past 45 days is not gonna work. Okay, let's do an advanced search. Seller's location, nope. Let me go way back in the day. This is from 2012. I probably was still buying back then. Let's go way back machine. Is this the first thing? Oh, there would be the second thing I ever bought, probably. Ooh, this could be fun. Let's do this. I'm gonna do this. So this is the second auction I ever bought. So if we go back to my feedback here, this would have been the first thing I bought. The second thing I ever bought back in 2010 on here were these guppies. Nice red. Now, I think in the description I had asked him, I remember this, I'd asked him if they had blue eyes, and he's like, yeah, they have blue eyes, because they were using a flash, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, I want the blue eyes, not the albino eye. They showed up and they were the albino eye. I was super angry. What was next? More, let's see, so there's guppies, more guppy, or more something. This would have been, what was this? Oh, Alferocolstratus. The Colstratus are the knife Livebearer. That was before Greg Sage, so I didn't know about Greg Sage at that point. Then I got some more Thai red albinos. So that was like that fish, but I would have bought them again because I really wanted the blue eye, not the red eye. The red eye was more common back then. Then I bought some cichlids. What did I buy? I bought Pseudocrinulabris multicolor Victoray. So these are the Egyptian mouth brooders. There's not a picture here, so I'm going to show you one. Egyptian mouth brooder. So back then, these were pretty hard to get a hold of. I was really trying to get these ones, which were the Victoray, but they usually came in more like this one right here. So they were usually that. We really wanted that other one though. These ones looked cooler, but they were a little more vicious. So I ended up getting those at some point anyway. What else did I get way back then? More Livebearers probably. Wild caught sailfin mollies back in 2011. What else did I get? Acrylic guppy breeding traps. I just got rid of those like a few years ago. Those were they expensive? I feel like they're expensive. Back then they were expensive for me. Let me see. I still have this acrylic to take pictures of. It's in the warehouse, or in the old warehouse right now. Paid probably $20 of shipping for it. Still used it. I bought more multicolor Victoray. because I wanted to make sure I could breed them. What is this? Oh, this is back. So I wanted to show you guys when I was selling. Let's see. Am I still buying? I think I'm still buying. Let's see. Yep, more full red Moscow with black eyes, right? So I'm hoping this kind of shows you the fanatical level I go to when it's like, I'll keep rebuying the same fish to get the best genetics. Just like I'll keep buying the same dry good product and testing them until I find the best version. Just because once you get that one as a breeder or as a seller, you know you've got the best, and you kind of have to sample a bunch of them to really get there. A vinyl decal of a guppy. Can you tell I'm into guppies and Livebearers at that point, and still am? I remember I got these. I made a lot of money off these back in 2012. The tiger endlers and some cherry shrimp. Let's see, what else do we have here? More Livebearers, of course. More tiger endlers. So a lot of times back then what I would do as a breeder, if I wanted to breed tiger endlers, I would buy them from 2 or 3 different sources so that I had mixed genetics, so that I would, one, be able to compare who had the best. 2, if they were comparable, I'd have mixed genes to not worry about inbreeding at the beginning. I learned that to be not as much of a problem long term, but in the short term, I was really worried about that, and I was willing to spend, more money. And each of these were only about $35, $20 for the fish, and then maybe, well, this one even had shipping included for 20 bucks. Like, how do you say no to that? $20 and shipped. Oh, Storsbach metal guppies. These are what are called like vintage heirloom guppies. So let me see if I can pull up a picture. They're like old school. This is when guppies were kind of newer. Yeah, they would be like this fish right here. Not a horrible looking fish, but not nearly as big and plentiful as some of the guppies we have nowadays, or had even then. So I was starting to collect some, and I paid good money for these. I paid $75, so I paid $82 for 4 fish back then in 2012. This would have been before I opened the store. I was trying to get species I wanted to breed and have some stock ready for the store because we opened in 2013. Is that right? That's right. But where are all my sales then? Why? I know I sold tons. I don't know why I don't see them though. But people up here, oh, I guess I was still selling. Yeah, it was still July. Okay, so I just was selling a lot of fish. What was I selling? Yeah, I was selling Neolamprologus signatus. These made us so much money. They were, this was a smaller auction, but let me show you this shell dweller. So they're these guys. They were very rare at the time. Almost no one had these. So people would oftentimes, what you would see is someone buy a group of 6 and they go, how many do you have? Then they would go, oh, I'll take all 29 of them. So they'd, spend $290. That's a really good selling if you're a breeder going, all right, sold all my fish to one person, right? Yeah, and so you can see, you can read our feedback. Excellent fish, great shipping, outstanding communications. Did I sell or buy this? I must have sold. I was selling extra plants, huge bulbitis, red cherry shrimp, and rapashi food. All together went for $31. Too bad none of the pictures work anymore. I sold some Livebearers. Did I sell them or did I buy? I sold. So I was selling, yes, this is the dwarf platy right here. The spike tail. Only made $10, so I stopped selling those pretty quick. I thought they were super cool. They're this fish right here. I thought they were super cool, but other people didn't think they were cool. They only get like an inch big. I thought they were just so cool, but not everyone does. This guy that left me bad feedback, he didn't pay after like 3 months for this auction. And so apparently I was being demanding because 3 months later I still wanted my money. And to ship them, I demanded money before I shipped. Lots of live plants. What was I selling? More Saswassertang. Yep. Used to make a lot of Saswassertang. $15 a portion. Let's see. What did I sell here? Did I sell or buy? I sold 12 tiger endlers and 12 cherry shrimp. Went for a mere $16. Oof. That's bad beats. What else do we sell? More Lampropelagos brevis, Rezuba. These guys weren't that cool. They were just a version of like the sunsets. And then now lately, I think a lot of these would have been what I've been buying. You know, so if you look at what I buy last. Oh, no, this isn't even that long ago. I had to buy shipping heat packs in 2018. That was when we couldn't buy enough. Oh, no one's just left me feedback since then. Okay. What else do we buy? Some inverts. A mono shrimp. I sold a mono shrimp, yeah. This would have been back early when the store started up, and I had to make money because we weren't selling enough. Selling a mono shrimp 6 at a time. I know there's other cool stuff I bought, though, over the years. Yeah, I was selling guppies. Yep, glass pair. Remember the glass belly guppies? Only sold them for $12. Ugh, that's why I didn't stay doing that for a long time, because it just wasn't worth it to me to ship at those prices. So I'm going to start answering questions now, because I bored you to death with the AquaBid. But I had a little bit of fun. All right. Will I be using undergravel filters in the new fish room? We talked about it. I had a design I wanted to try. I don't think I'm going to. I'm not going to have that many aquariums. Aquariums themselves might only be, and I say only, there might only be like, that wall's 40 feet. Divide by, if I do 3-foot aquariums, that's only going to be like 12 aquariums there. But if I do a smaller aquarium, it might be 20 aquariums. The way I have it planned, I don't plan on doing that, but I wanted to test undergravel filter with a bulkhead so I could auto clean it, but I haven't committed to that, so I don't think I'm going to do it. Do Mubu puffers lay around a lot during the day? Mine don't. After you feed, for sure, but mine are pretty active all the time outside of after feeding. Welcome, Brandon. I'll try to see if you asked a question. I'll see if I can answer it. How did the ponds do this year, Cory? I would say the brine shrimp pond was very good. One of the 3 rice fish ponds, really good. One okay and one meh. Every year I swear, like, okay, this is the year for summer ponds. And then this year we bought a house. And so we're transitioning. Every year I don't know why it always becomes like, maybe it's Peru and that kind of stuff years previous, but I always want to do so much more and I end up not doing that much more. Ooh, Candy says, can I mention that we've got some bugs with the emails? Yes, right now, currently, we had a bug in our new system where it wasn't shipping out notification emails, and I believe they fixed that bug. The problem is it's now launching emails from like 10, 15 days ago going, we're shipping your product, even though you've already gotten it. Don't worry, not recharging you, nothing like that. It's just catching up with the backlog. So kind of just disregard. If you're worried about it, you'll probably either heard this, now you're not, or you'll email Candy and she'll be like, don't worry. And hopefully it's minimal people affected. Okie doke. Can you keep 2 adolescent angels with an adult angel and 55 with dithers, or will that be a problem? Most likely you'll be okay. Keep an eye on it. For the most part, usually okay. Can you please touch on detritus worms, the silent gross white danger noodle, or is it the harmless white poodle? I think they're harmless. There's going to be 12 people that just stood up and go, how dare you? I once saw it attack my dog. Yes. And then I'll go, but then I've seen 10,000 aquariums with them, and I've never seen it happen. So in the right crazy scenario, could your planaria and other detritus type worms be detrimental? I suppose that is technically true. In practice, I've never feared them, ever. So for the way I keep fish and the shrimp and the fish I breed, I've never seen them be a negative impact on, maybe instead of making 500 shrimp, I only made 400, but I never noticed a difference. I don't know. I've never had a problem that I could see. So that's where I fall on that subject. Doesn't mean in an experiment you couldn't find something else, but in a practical, real-world breeding scenario, I hadn't run into that. What is the recommended tank size and water flow for a brown ghost knife? The internet is very conflicted on these. The browns only get, roughly that big, so they're not as bad. They don't need high flow. They just want to hide in a cave like most of them do. Tank mates, anything that's not aggressive, nothing tiny. But, a lot of times it's going to be a lot of different tetras and rasboras and maybe some gouramis. Whatever you consider to keep in a planted community tank, that's usually where you find the brown ghost knife or the brown knife. I recommend not mixing it with other knives like transparent knives and that kind of stuff. That you might find a little squabbling going on. I've got fuzz growing on my stirbe Corys. It's been there for 6 months and just spread. I've treated the tank with methylene blue, Icex, Maricin, and salt for months. It seems unkillable. So usually what happens is you have an underlying source of stress. Something's causing it to not heal. You've got things that should take care of it but aren't, and so maybe it's not getting enough food. Maybe it's getting spoiled food. Maybe it's got fish chasing it. Maybe the water quality, maybe the pH is a little bit too low. Maybe it's a little bit too high. Something is causing ongoing stress and either keeping it reoccurring or making it so it never actually gets solved. Welcome Mike C. and Lady Aquatics and Chris Sewell. Ooh, I wonder, I was going to try to hit a new milestone. I forgot all about that. I was like, let's see if we can make it to, and then I think it's 1800. Is that the number? Let's see. Yeah, wow, we're 1 away from hitting 1800. So we just need 101 more. That's right, 101 more. We just need 1 more person to technically hit that 1800 mark, which would be awesome. Thank you to everyone that have been around for a very long time and the new people. Still grabbing questions from members. Anyone know where to buy a sculpted aquarium stone, like a sculpted dragon stone? I haven't seen, like, you can get cement stuff, and if you let that soak long enough, it'll be safe. I've seen lots of sculpted wood, like dragons and that kind of stuff, but I haven't seen, and they make it out of little sticks, so they actually make it out of, like, not bonsai, spiderwood. So that's definitely done, but I don't know where there's a good source of, like, sculpted actual rock. Lots of cement stuff because cheap enough. Ronald Goings, the 1800th nerm. All right. Ooh, and Catwoman VA, 1801. An easy welcome to the nerd army. The Nermals. Wait. Can I discuss lymph? I can't even say it right. Let me just make sure it is what I think it is. Yeah, it's basically like tumors and stuff. I gotta try to pronounce it. Lymphocystis? I'm trying to think. So I'm gonna read you the description. I'm gonna tell you how I treat it, and it's not gonna help anyone though. So, common viral disease. The virus that contains the disease belongs to the genus. That word. Aquarists often come across this virus when their fish are stressed, such as when put into a new environment, and the virus is able to grow. So when I see tumors and stuff, and you guys have been listening for a while, 1,000,000 times I tell you, reduce stress. Put a little bit of salt in there. It's going to take a few months to recede, but seeing those little growths, that's what is usually causing that. And yes, is it a virus? Yes. Are you going to be able to get rid of it 100%? No. Can you minimize the symptoms? You can do that, though. So that's, that's my take on it. I don't know how much it spreads. I haven't been able to study it. Well, let's see. Google asks, is it contagious? So it's characterized by multiple creamy white nodules on the skin and fins. Yep, we talked about cysts before. Is contagious from one fish to another, but all exposed fish are not affected by the disease. That makes me think it spreads with stress and those types of things. So that's where I lend myself to keep a stress-free environment. A lot of stuff goes away, doesn't spread as much. And that's all pseudoscience to me when it's like, yeah, it spreads sometimes, or when it doesn't, it doesn't, it makes it really hard to, like, for me to speak with any authority and go, this is what happens, when it's like, well, even most of the internet's like, sometimes it happens or it doesn't, depending on things or not, what's going on. Josh Palmer, welcome, and Brandon Johnson, welcome as well. Is there a video for the brine shrimp pond? There are videos and pictures on the forum. So go to forum.aquariumcoop.com and search brine shrimp pond, and you will learn all about what I did. All right. Question about AquaBid. When buying killifish eggs, what would you consider a good hatch ratio? Example, the seller is offering 40 plus eggs. When you hatch them, you end up with 15 fry. So my outlook was, whenever I'm purchasing something on AquaBid, at the end, was I able to have enough to breed? So with 15 fry, I consider that to be very successful. 6 or more, I'd probably still say successful. I have very realistic expectations. So a lot of things can happen in the mail. We don't know if all the eggs got fertilized. We don't know what's going to happen. But with 15 fry, I would say I got my money's worth from that seller. It's now on me to hopefully get males and females, raise them up and breed them, and then I've got all the eggs I could ever want. That's what my goal is. And even if I ordered 10 and only 1 pair survive, but then I make 5 million of them, I consider that a success, even by the breeder standpoint of like, well, things have to acclimate your water. Maybe I have growing pains, like I don't know what I'm doing. I kill some. Maybe I didn't know that fish was going to eat it. Things happen. And it's not always the seller's fault. Sometimes it is. But I always look at it like it's my fault. Even when something goes wrong with the seller, it's like, yeah, I probably should have seen that coming. I could have read their feedback. I could have done this. I could have done that. And I try to just go with odds. Like, oh, I only paid 20 bucks. Maybe they'll work. Maybe they won't. I paid $200. They better work. Dana Knight and M. Good, welcome. Tips on getting autos onto Repashy. It can be difficult to get autos to do anything. They are unruly at best. When they're hungry, obviously that helps. Painting it onto, stone or wood, that can help, giving a nice flat surface. But autos can be very difficult to feed. And, I don't have, I wish I had a recipe. It was like auto plus this and Repashy makes me money. It doesn't. It's hit or miss. And I think it'd be a lot more popular if for every time, they always eat it. Autos always do well on it. But they're finicky. And so you just trial and error. That's what I would say is your best tip there, is like try some different techniques, try some different blends, try, you could even try making the Repashy, painting it on to like zucchini or a cucumber, anything they're already eating. Maybe you put it next to, like maybe you put a rock outside to grow algae. You bring that rock inside. Now you put some Repashy on half it, hoping they're like, oh, I'm eating algae. Now I'm eating Repashy. It's like tricking a baby into eating what they don't want, That's what I would try. Finally, starting a guppy breeding project. What strain would you recommend to start playing with? Well, one that you like to look at. But then any solid color usually does well. That's, these ones are black, these ones are red, these ones are blue, these ones are green, these ones are... Any solid color typically sells fairly well. And it's a little easier to... Well, let me try to show you an example here. So I just chose red flamingo guppies, right? We're going to look at images. All of these would be sold as red flamingo guppies, right? This fish here, this fish here, this fish here, this fish here. What I look for in a good red guppy, whether it's going to be a red delta, whether delta would be tail shape, by the way, red flamingo, whenever it's a red guppy, what am I looking for? So one of the things I'm always looking for, I want to see a lot of them. When I can see a lot of them, I can now judge how good is this breeding. Whereas when you only see one, you're typically seeing their best one. And so that doesn't give you true metrics on what you might receive, right? So I'm always looking for, I want to see a group, or a video is even better. Then what I'm looking for is who's got the best coverage and color, who's got the tail that I want, and then I like the blue eye as opposed to the red eye. The red-eyed, the albinos, they typically will have pretty good red color, but they tend to be a little more orange as opposed to more red. Again, this is like a best of one fish where I would, you know, I'd want to see, this is a really bad picture, but let me look for some more reds. Good fish, albino, big chested male. So they're really power feeding this to get that big male chest there. So careful. There might not be a long-lived fish for you when you get it. You know, this fish looks amazing. Again, the red eye helps, and the way they've colored the picture and shot it without a flash makes it look darker and red. Same thing here. But I would want a nice blue eye. Let me see if I can type in blue eye red guppy. Is what I would look for specifically if I was trying to breed reds. Just because I think it looks better with that blue eye looking back against the red body. They're much rarer. Let's see if I can find anything that's even going to be close to what I'm trying to show you guys. But it's because the albino gene lends itself so well to red that the blue eye gene is much rarer. Of course, there's not going to be a single fish on here of what I would... And now you know why I bought them on AquaBid, because they're not easy to find. Why is there no blue-eyed? These are close. You can see the blue eye there. Bad picture, but they've got at least got the blue eye looking back at you. It stands out. Good coverage. You don't know about the, oh yeah, black eye, blue or black eye right here. So they even call that out because it's so rare to see that. I just think it looks better than this red on red or the, you know. So I'd look for a solid color, then start looking and seeing what do you think is good versus what's not good. And then over time, you'll learn something like, oh yeah, the blue eye is much rarer than the red eye one. I didn't know that. Will neon tetras breed in live plants, or do you need a mop? Is there anything special I need to do to breed them? Yes, lots of special stuff to do. Not considered easy. Very small eggs. Reported to be light sensitive. Usually you have them fall down into marbles or some kind of base away from the adults because they'll eat them. Look it up. Who's got the best tutorial? Maybe Ted Judy? I think he did a good video on respawning tetras. Keeping any Poecilia subspecies like Picta, or I've never had luck with the Pictas or Prairie or all those ones that are the brackish water guppies that look super cool. I've never had good luck with them. I've never met anyone that's had super good luck with them. I've had some people keep them going, but no one that really got them thriving, breeding tons, handing them out to all their friends, that type of stuff. Never really seen anyone do that in freshwater. So, and if it's not in freshwater, I'm not so excited for it. Why do my cichlids turn and slide on their side on the substrate? You're new to the hobby. Well, if you're new to the hobby, it could be you've got something going with your water. It could be pH is off, you know, so if it's too high or too low, that irritates your skin. They're trying to scratch that feeling off. Could be you have ammonia or nitrite in the water, which again would burn their skin. They're trying to get rid of that. They can't just like, you know, get off me. They got to go rub against something. If it's not that common, it could be they're just a little bit itchy. They can do that as well, have a little bit of irritant. But if you're common or new to the hobby, that's where I do feel like the water parameters. Really look at water parameters. They account for almost everything in our hobby. So I would focus on water parameters. Sherry Davies, welcome to the nerms. Hitting the refresh button. We're cruising right along. 1808. That's what I like. Maybe we can hit 1825. Put a hurting on that count. We need the official stance. On the Aquarium Co-op on this heated topic. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No, we were talking earlier. If it's an old stale bun, it could actually be a taco. Same shape, If it's crunchy enough, you put meat inside, could be a taco. You could argue that, you know, the hot dog is a sandwich, but I think by definition, you have to cut the hot dog. Either fillet it and spread it out, or dice it up to officially hit the Aquarium Co-op's definition of a sandwich. How regular should water changes be on a breeding fish for profit tank? Whatever it takes to keep water parameters in line. So me personally, a lot of tanks when I was working with them would be once every 3 to 6 months. Especially with African cichlids and stuff, they would just breed like clockwork, breed every week. I'd be, you know, harvesting tons and tons and tons. And then when they started slowing down production, I would change some water, then I'd go back to firing all cylinders again. I would keep track on what are water parameters doing. You don't want them to get too out of line, but for the most part, if you're doing your job and you're doing little water changes, if you're really breeding a fish a lot, every time you got to pull some water out because you're pulling eggs or you're doing whatever you're doing, those are little miniature water changes. You're selling fish, those are water changes, right? So when your fish room's really going, you're always doing, you know, you're probably changing a little bit of water every day. So even though I say I don't change water for 6 months at a time, small amounts of water does get changed just out of necessity of like, oh, I needed to move the fish, needed to do that, whatever it's going to be. Needed to clean the sponge filter, right? So if you clean the sponge filter, you might take 2 or 3 gallons of water out of the tank while you're cleaning it. You put 2 or 3 gallons back in, but you're not necessarily doing a water change. Okie doke. A hot dog is a soft taco till the bottom of the bun breaks, then it's a sandwich. No, that's why, like, when my wife barbecues, we toast the bun. That way it's a taco. I can't eat at some of your houses. Soggy hot dog buns, there's about nothing worse. All right. Welcome to Letha Lizard? Letha Lizard? Yeah. Letha Lizard, I guess. Can I use live sand to start up a brackish water tank for an infinity puffer? What is an infinity puffer? My brain does not know what that is. I feel like it's something made up. Let me read that again to make sure I didn't misread it. Infinity puffer, right? That's what I read. I don't know where it went now. Yeah, infinity puffer. Google has nothing about an infinity puffer. That might be a local store doing that to you. How big or small of a tank can I raise an infinity puffer in? I don't know what an infinity puffer is. Maybe it's like a clever name for like a figure 8 puffer because it's like, oh, it's the infinity sign. Maybe? But I wouldn't use live sand because it's usually going to want a higher salinity than you're going to keep it. So you pretty much got to start that tank up naturally. As far as tank mates, assuming it's a figure 8 puffer, they can have some, but you know, a lot of the brackish water tank mates like pretty big aquariums. If I was dabbling in brackish water, the person that's got the best videos that have an honest head on their shoulders approach to it, Tazawa's Tanks. Check him out. He's got mud skippers, he's got puffers, he's got lots of brackish water stuff he's playing with, night gobies, all that kind of stuff. And he's not doing the giant monos and the scats and stuff that, like, well, most people can't have tanks big enough for those. But he's got a real level-headed approach on how he's doing it, and he's doing really well with it. And I would go there and try to get some inspiration. That's what I would do. It is a figure 8 puffer. Okay, yeah. So they get about 6 inches or so, and some of them can be very, very feisty, and some can be kind of laid back. I think at least a 40 breeder, and I would mostly keep a colony of them. Yeah, that's what I would do, but I also don't have crazy experience with brackish water fish because I focus on freshwater. So there you go. If you bought one of the preformed ponds, would you feel comfortable with drilling it and adding bulkheads to add a sump for filtration if the pond is being kept indoors like mine? like the normal preformed ones from like Home Depot, where they're like, well, let me pull it up. That way we're all on the same page. Preformed pond. So if I was looking at something like this, let's say, oh, come on, load faster. This is Home Depot, apparently. Come on. If I was looking at something like this, you could do it, but the plastic's pretty thin on something like this. You'd have to pick a flat spot and get your bulkhead seated really well. If you're talking about like a Rubbermaid tote, they've already got it kind of built in. If I click on this, right here, it's built in on the bottom. That's really nice. Or you've got all these flat sides. You can even modify them. You can cut it right through here, and you can put a AquaClear 110 on there if you wanted. There's a lot of stuff you can do with these types. And my advice would be, assuming you're not getting it for free from someone else, these are like $100, and so are the ones from like, this is $162. So 100-gallon preform, $162. This Rubbermaid's $100, and it's like a better thing for doing indoors. So that's why I typically always go with these. I save money, and it's a much thicker, easier to work with product in that setup that you're trying to work with. Okie doke. Oh, so he said that's it. It's the islands from Maynard's. We don't have those around here. Is it Maynard's or Menards? I don't know. Your thoughts on never having a seasoned aquarium? I probably rescape every 3 to 5 months. I'm thinking of dedicating one tank as a seasoned aquarium to curb my habit. Well, in my opinion, you've never experienced an ecosystem yet. You've definitely grown plants, you've definitely kept fish alive and all of that, but you haven't really experienced the magic of what an aquarium can actually just digest and keep going by itself. And to me, that's the most magical part of fish keeping, is that ecosystem. That's why I actually breed fish. That's why I do all these things, is to build an ecosystem and watch generations of fish, generations of different crustaceans, generations of layering of mulm in the substrate. What does that do? Sulfite gas buildup, more plants, less plants, all of that. Where when you're taking it apart every 3 to 5 months, in my opinion, it hasn't even really grown in. You haven't even seen its full potential, you know? Yeah, for me, it would be like, let's say you had a dog and you got rid of it every time it was 3 to 5 years old. In my opinion, dogs are at their best like 5 years and older. When they start getting a little bit lazy, they really want to be a companion. They really know your routine. You know everything about them. Like, the older a dog gets, the more I love them. Not that, I don't love a puppy too, but you hit that sweet spot when they're really set in with your routine, you know what it wants, and you got a good thing going. That's where you're at with that aquarium. You're like at 3 to 5 month mark, you really got a good thing going at that point, where you should. If you're not, like if you're redoing it because it's broken, got some learning to do. But if it's just out of boredom, I think you're missing kind of the beauty and the intrigue of what's beyond that wall. You're kind of almost getting there, because in my mind, a seasoned aquarium is 6 months from when you've made the last major change. Not a water change, but like you changed filtration, you changed a bunch of plants out, you changed substrate, you started feeding new food, whatever that's going to be. That last major change, 6 months from then is when you really start seeing an aquarium kind of go out on its own and start doing what it's going to do. Simon Littlefield, welcome. Welcome to the nerm. Them dog analogies. I know. I love me some doggies. Is a Zoomed 10 canister filter too small for a 12-gallon long? Let me Google it, because I gotta make sure it's the right one. Zoomed 10 canister. That's the little one for turtles, right? Yeah. No, that should be fine. I'll show what everyone we're looking at here. This should actually be okay. It's something like this right here. It's got sponge. You got some bio rings. This will be fine for a 12-gallon. This will do you just fine. I don't know if I'd run the carbon. I'd probably get a little more biomedia in there, but this should handle you just fine. This is the 30, I guess. Hold on. But I think the 10 is going to be fine too. Right here. Here's a 10. Yeah, this one does it not come with either the picture or just, like, I would fill it up though. You know, make sure you're getting your use out of that thing. All right. Welcome, Christina Hart. Welcome back. All right. Now I have to read this once. Been asked twice. I've caught some phonics. I'm sure they would love their trout-like form and their pinks and purples. How do I medicate wild-caught fish to be thorough? Well, you would do it just like any other fish. I'll explain it, but I want to research this fish, so I might even know what I'm talking about. Huh. It's called the common minnow, apparently. There you go. I don't know if you can hear it. Someone's mowing the lawn right now. Can you guys hear the lawn mowing? It's my other neighbors. Not the pumpkin off the top neighbors, just other neighbors. So yeah, this is common minnow. I've never seen it. I'm sure it's a native. Where's it caught? Nope, not a native. Huh. I just assumed it looked like it should be from here. So what do we ask? Oh, how do we make sure they're safe? I would give them like kind of the medicine trio. I would deworm them internally and externally, basically for external parasites, and just watch them really well. Watch temperatures. A lot of the wild fish, those hotter temperatures really wreak havoc on them. What tips do you have for going from a guy that can grow plants to a master aquatic horticulturist? I find helping others, like, the more times you go and help someone else figure out what's wrong with their aquarium, you'll be better to identify deficiencies, and you'll be able to, like, look at them, like their aquarium, and go, ooh, you probably got this problem going on because I've had that problem before. That really levels you up pretty quick. Working at a store will do that real fast. They'll show you pictures. They're just like, what's wrong? Then you go, okay, let me ask some questions. All right, and you get them through that, and you do that a bunch. You'll really step up your game, so that way when you're bringing in stupid rare plants that really don't want to be underwater, but you're determined, you know, to get your street cred, you can go, okay, I think this is the problem. I think that's the problem. You can have some moderate success. Then you can go to that next nerm level, and you're going to go, okay, I'm going to start propagating flowering plants, like propagating, what do we want to propagate? Like, my brain's not working. Apontagetons. So let me see if I can find good pictures to help you. Maybe not, but we're going to do it anyway. So then you get to like, oh, I want to propagate some Apontagetons. Well, eventually they're going to flower, right? You get these little flowers here or here. And the stamens, that's what these are, you need to take like a paintbrush or a toothbrush, get some of this, pollinate another one. Then they're going to drop a bunch of seed pods. That's not a picture of that. Let's see if anyone's got seed pod pictures. I've done it a few times. Maybe this is it. That might be some little ones. But I've done it a few times, and they basically just drop a ton of little miniature versions in your aquarium, and then those grow up. And you can do that. You can work on flowering and getting different spathes. I think that's the plural word, like flowering. The spathe, which is this. That's growing up out of the water, but you have to basically do them immersed, and there's lots of, it's pretty easy to do, honestly, in an immersed setup. You could also do, you know, Anubias and Crips, or not, Anubias and Bucephalandras. So being able to, I would say, to get to a master horticultural level, it's being able to go, I want to do this. I set out to do it, and I did it pretty easily. That's where, you know, oh, I want to get this plant to be pink. I want this plant to flower. I want to set up this immersed one. I want to propagate this plant. And for the most part, you do all of that, and it's not, I don't want to say difficult, because some of it is work, but you can lay out a plan, and it works. Yeah, that's when you can replicate success like that pretty easy. That's when I feel like you've hit that level. All right. Brandon Johnson said he was the 1800s. Oh. Sorry, buddy. Nevertheless, you're part of the nerm squad now. You're all 1808s, or whatever we at now. You're all 1811s in my book. That's right. Any tips for growing moss? I've got Phoenix Lights. I dose Easy Green, but Christmas and Java Moss never seem to do well. Are you getting a good source of it? And what I mean by that, has it already been grown underwater, or are you losing it in the transition phase? That can happen quite a bit, which isn't. This thing, that's what's happening, is every time I touch my camera, I was playing with position. I think my camera's getting sad, like, meow, meow, the little holder. That's what I get for playing with it right before I went live. But a little bit of CO2 goes a long way when you're trying to propagate mosses. That really amps it up as much as you can amp up moss. And that transition factor can be brutal. So if you're ordering it and it comes in mostly immersed, you're going to have a long transition time. It's going to really die back before it takes off again. Also know it's pretty common to have a lot of stuff outcompete your plants in your aquarium. You got all these stem plants. If you're trying to do all this other crazy stuff, they're going to eat really well. And your moss, slow grower, not so much. What should I do if I'm treating ick with ICX and it's getting worse? My temps are 84 and I change 30% of the water and dose daily as recommended for a week and a half. Well, from that point, maybe I would post on our forum, post some pictures, and let's try to figure out why is it going wrong. Like, have we misdiagnosed? Do we have a water parameter that's out of whack and that's causing the problem? What else could I think of that would be, it's mostly those. Like either A, something's reinfecting or keeping it from getting better, or B, we've got a problem where we've misdiagnosed and it's not ick and we're just using the same med and it's never going to treat it because it's not what's going on. Maybe you got velvet, right? Maybe you got something else going on. But pictures speak 1,000 words there. Otherwise, you could switch to like salt. Salt hits a lot more things. And if you don't have plants in your tank, pretty easy to use. I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, but I definitely have seen it where it's like, my thing's not getting better. Like, so to use an analogy, like, I cut my hand, it's not healing. It's been 2 weeks. Like, you're on fire. You're literally 3rd-degree burns because you're on fire. This is the least of your worries. It happens all the time in aquariums where it's like, your pH is 5.5. The skin's melting off. Like, at this point, the ick is helping because it's actually at least holding the skin there. Otherwise, it'll just fall off because it's so acidic, right? And that happens because it's usually stress that brings on the illness. So that's why they go hand in hand so much of like, why is the pH so out of whack? Why is this thing going? Oh, my light's falling over. That's what's happening. My light is loosening up and it's going to like crash on me. Oh, I just realized it was about, I wish I could show you because it's like really leaning over right now. So if my camera goes down in a fit of rage, you'll know why. I'll try not to bump this. I gotta survive 10 more minutes with thousands of dollars teetering there. Oh man. But a lot of times it goes hand in hand because you've already got a stressful environment, something caused things to get compromised, the illness sets in. If we don't fix the illness, we can't treat the illness. So like at the fish store, for instance, our motto is the minute something gets sick, I want a full gravel vac and a sponge cleaning. I don't care if you did that yesterday, you're doing it again today because today is the day they're sick. Because what happens is people, they go, well, we just did that like a week ago. Should be fine. Doesn't mean it is though. And it's not most of the time. So it's like, did we get an ammonia spike? Was it a nitrite spike? What's going on? What happened? And so you test the water. We do a gravel vac and we do a sponge or a filter cleaning. That's bare minimum before we even start medicating. We want to make sure, are we starting with the best possible conditions before we put the meds in? Because if we're not, we're never going to heal it. So you got to make sure we're starting with as close to optimal as we can and go from there. Does light really matter? I have a regular night crew light on my tank. If I upgrade to a Stingray, will my plants grow faster? Hard to say. One, there's 1.5 billion different night crew lights. Some of them are awesome and some of them suck. So there's that aspect. 2, you could have the best light in the world that you upgrade to. If you don't put in more fertilizer and stuff, it probably won't grow any faster. 3, do you even want it to grow faster? Like, it could be not growing at all, in which case you do. But if it's growing at a moderate pace, that's probably good enough. My advice usually is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you already own that, don't have to spend any more money. Maybe you don't. Buy the new light. And for sure, if you weren't dosing fertilizer yet, invest money in fertilizer before a light, for dang sure. But without knowing your tank size, and like, I don't know all the lights off the top of my head and what their specific par is going to be. I do know the Stingray, but I would hesitate. I don't think I could honestly just be like, yes, you should buy one, because I'm not sure that's going to help. And I'm not sure that's what you want. A lot of times people think they want stuff to grow faster. In reality, they actually want to grow healthier, or they're looking for some other, I want better reds, I want something else. And a lot of that comes down to like, well, how long is your light on? How much fertilizer are you putting in? Are you putting the right type of fertilizer? Are you using enough root tabs versus liquid fertilizer? What's the calcium level? What else is going on in there? The light, while a lot of times, yes. Is it important? It surely is. But, you know, back 20 years ago, lighting sucked. Now lighting's super powerful and really good. Not often is that the real culprit anymore. It used to be 10 years ago, every time it was like, oh, yeah, your light's the problem, your light's the problem, your light's the problem. Now it's mostly fertilizer's the problem, fertilizer's the problem. So I would look there first. Terrence Blanton, welcome to the nerms. Time to nerm up. All right, I've got 3 pea puffers in a fully planted 10-gallon. I've had to remove one due to bullying. I put in a 2.5-gallon. He acts like he loves it there. I know the minimum is 5. Yeah, he can stay there. There's no hard and fast rules in this world. There is recommendations. Get at least a 5-gallon. Your life will be easier. But if he's loving that 2.5 and you have no problems taking care of it, guess what? It's a good thing, right? The same reason I wouldn't take a dog away from someone who lived in an apartment. Oh, you walk him 3 times a day? He's your best friend? You do everything together? He's healthy? The vet says never seen a healthier dog? Who's to say then, right? I think it's working out for you. Sounds like it's good. It is good. Now, if you were to ask me, what would you say is the minimum? I would be like, well, probably 5-gallon, because if you've never kept an aquarium before, anything under 5 gallons is real hard to take care of. That's why you get that advice. Are we up to 1818 nerms? No, it still says 1811. I don't know if it's not updating or if that's where we're at. Yeah, 1811 is what it says. I have an Aqua Sky 1200 millimeter light on a 55-gallon. Will that be enough for low to medium light? Aqua Sky, that's the lower end fluval, right? Let me see. Yeah, that's the lower end fluval. Now, the question is 55. It'll do low light plants for sure. Medium. Maybe stem plants that are already tall. But I didn't bring that light in because I thought it was such a bad... It's like not much better than a Stingray and not nearly as powerful as a fluval like 3.0 or 2.0. It is a budget light. It's like got the cost of like that medium. Like this should be in between, but it's not. Yeah. So you could definitely do low light, medium light plants that are tall. Yes. But something like a Star Gun Repent is going to stay short? Probably not. You'd probably run into some problems there. I have a 5-gallon cherry shrimp tank. Last week I found a dead adult that looked like it was turning black. I've seen 2 more shrimp and they are turning black. Is there something that could be concerning? Yeah, I mean, I would definitely test water. Broken record, I know. Test water. Make sure everything's looking good. Because that's usually like when you start seeing a pattern of something, it's like, well, what has changed? Did I change something? Is it just the tank is changing? Because we just lost 1 shrimp, like maybe it died of old age. But now we're up to 3, or 1 dead and 2 turning black. It's like, okay, something could be going on. Are we getting stressed? Are fish chasing them? Did something get into the water? Is the water changing because of the time of year? Is my food extra old? Is it I'm doing something different? Not sure. Will I be launching more Aquarium Co-op and Zist branded products on Amazon and Canada? Yes. I don't know if we'll necessarily be doing Zist branded products. Right now, sourcing stuff is so hard that we're having a hard time keeping enough in for our store. Getting stuff even to Canada is difficult. There's lots of delays going on. Like we get stuff shipped to us FedEx. FedEx right now is a train wreck. Like a week to 2 weeks delay on shipments. So a lot of the vendors we buy from use FedEx, and that's really delaying us getting stuff. In a perfect world, when everything's working normal again, sure, we're putting more stuff up on Amazon Canada. Yeah, definitely. We've got more stuff to go, but everything is, you know, like right now what happens is if someone gets sick at the store or the warehouse, they have to go get tested for COVID. They got to sit out from work for days until that test result comes back. That means we're running a little bit light, which means we don't have extra time to pack stuff to get it sent to Amazon. Let's see if I don't think we have the root tabs on there yet. Do we? No root tabs yet. We only have the Easy Green and Easy Iron on Amazon Canada so far, but we had the package for root tabs made, and we have them, but we just need to get them up to there. There's design intricacies of getting it to work. That's basically what we're on to. We're almost there. That's what it comes down to. What's the hashtag for Steenfot? I feel like I should troll him on his puffer video, but I'm trying to think. I don't know. I need to think about this more ahead of time. That's the problem. Someone will come up with something good. Will ever make an Aquarium Co-op store in Portland, Oregon? Nope. You've got good stores down there. You've got Cichlid Exchange, and in Beaverton you've got, oh my gosh, what is that store called? It's great. World of Wet Pets. You've got good stores down there. Not that I would only go where there's not a good store, but I have no intentions of expanding in the physical capacity. I just don't, there's not enough time in the day. That's really what it comes down to. Is like I can barely keep this ship going in the right direction as it is. My job just pushed back the return to the office till mid-January. Yep, we have things like crushed coral. You're like, we've been sold out since we ordered it in June. No, that's not true. I think we ordered it first or second week of July, and they still haven't shipped it. So there's not a lot more we can do. We ordered it months and months ago. It's not here yet. We'd love to be selling it to you guys, but it's really hard to plan when you're like, oh, we didn't know you're going to take months and months to ship, and we don't have another supplier, and soggy hot dog. That's not very family friendly. We can't be sending non-family friendly stuff to other people's streams. That's not the way of the nerms. I do like hashtag nerms though. Maybe that's just always going to be my thing. Ellie Bell, welcome to the nerms. Bob's talking about intermediate fish today, I think. Yeah, I think we just go with hashtag nerms, because otherwise I was going to go with hashtag camera fail, because this camera, I'm gonna like sneak away, because it's like any second could tip. So yeah, we're gonna go with hashtag nerms, and I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna take a picture of it first, just to show you guys like it's coming over on me. And yeah, so we're gonna head over to Steenfot Aquatics live stream. Puts on a good show. He's talking about intermediate fish. I think last week he talked about beginner fish. So now we're gonna talk about some more intermediary stuff. And, you know, now it's time to get dinner, and I just chill out and work and listen. I'm not big in the chat. Like, I do chime in from time to time, and I am listening. But, you know, I'm kind of winding down from 2 hours of talking a bunch and catching up on all the messages I get and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, thank you guys for becoming new members and staying members, or nerms, as I should say. And we'll see you next week. Lots going on. I've got contractors working around the clock for the new studio. I mean, we're not building like, you know, the Taj Mahal or anything, but, you know, definitely stuff's got to get done to make it ready for a fish room. I wonder if like by the end of the stream it's just going to be like only pointing at the floor at this point. This camera's just sagging. But yeah, stuff like camera mounts, all that kind of stuff. We've been bringing that in left and right. Do I even have any of that stuff? No, apparently not. But I've got it here. I've been testing it. That's why I've got my microphone on a new bendy arm. Ooh, bendy arm, right? Need to apparently get one that's for this camera because it's not doing the bendy so well. But anyway, we're going to head over to Steamfight Aquatics. We're going to hang out there. I'll be around. Hashtag nerms. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Yeah, and we'll see you next Monday at the same time, same place. And yes, we should restock this week, I hope, on a bunch of things. Come on, clear the ports. Just got to find the right button to click done for the day. There we go.